Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf. What a song. It's a perfect way to introduce you to my one-on-one. Patti Russo is my one-on-one. She spent her career to date performing alongside some of the world's best-known artists, including Queen, Cher, Roger Daltrey, Jeff Beck. However, her best-known work has been as the powerhouse female vocalist for Meatloaf, playing an integral role in both his touring and recording career for almost 2 decades and cementing a reputation as the perfect foil for his bombastic and over-the-top theatrical stage persona. He's appeared on all his recordings since the mid-90s and co-created some of the most memorable stage performances for the famous mini-opera Paradise by the Dashboard Light. My one-on-one today is Patti Russo. Patti, welcome to the show.
Oh, my God. Thank you for having me.
I understand you've been running out over there.
Running with Doc Martens. Try doing that. I just felt, man, I'll tell you, if there was a race to be had on that, I'd win. I was zigzagging through Oxford Street, and I just looked like a kid scribbling. And I was just running.
Well, I'm delighted.
Like a bat out of hell.
You went like a bat of hell. Well, I'm delighted that you made it. It's lovely to speak to you.
Oh, and you. Thanks for having me.
I have to tell you, how exciting it is, not for you, but for us to get to speak to you. I mean, that was a perfect introduction for you. You play a song like that. That's not just a song. That is something that is epic. It's massive. It's a huge part of culture. And there you are, Patti.
You know what? It is one of my favorite songs. I wasn't on the album. That was recorded in the 70s. Mm-hmm. But it was always my favorite to perform on stage.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. That's it. It's just 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds.
Isn't
That's
it?
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I'm really disappointed with you, Patti.
What did I do now?
You didn't choose possibly one of my favorite. In fact, it's the first song that I kissed a girl to. I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that. Me and Sally, I was 16.
Ooh. And
I remember it well. And you provided the soundtrack.
No, actually, here we go again. Since I'm going to be stumping you, because that original soundtrack. I mean, I joined the band in '93. The album was already done. In fact, a girl from Newcastle named Lorraine Crosby.
Right.
Of
course, yeah.
Yeah, Lorraine. I think she was on The Voice out here too.
She was, absolutely.
Yeah, and she was. She did the demo for Jim Steinman, and it was perfection. And it's pretty exciting for her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Patti, we're going to take just a little break to play some of your music, because obviously you've picked some fantastic stuff. You have also chosen to Ride the Wild Wind by Queen, so we'll have a listen to that and then come back to Patti Russo. Ride the Wild Wind by Queen. It is the choice of my one-on-one this afternoon, Patti Russo, who's about to go out on the road on her own for the first time in her life. But isn't that exciting?
It was. I did my first gig last night in Southampton at the Brook.
Wow, how was it?
Oh, it was awesome. It was amazing. It really was. Yeah, it was. A lot of fans flew in from Germany and the Netherlands, as well as fans here in the UK. And it was magical.
Tell me about doing that. Because we've seen you performing with Queen, with Cher, with Roger Daltrey, obviously with Meatloaf. I will be asking you about Mr. Loaf as well. But being up there on your own, doing your own thing, that must be just so rewarding, Patti.
Oh, call me crazy, because this is something I've always wanted to do, and. But I'm actually doing it, and I can't believe I'm doing it at this stage in my life.
What's taking you so long?
Just been life, I guess, and just been working and all of that. But it was, like I said, it was a childhood dream, and I'm turning a milestone age next month. Mm-hmm. And if I didn't do it now, I didn't want to look back in a few years from now and say, man, I wish, coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yeah, live with no regrets and all that.
Oh, totally. So when this all started coming together last year, and then at the beginning of this year, it was amazing. It was like unlocking all these doors, and things were happening so fast, and it was like getting the cheat sheet to like one of these video games. All of a sudden, you've been trying for like decades to get through that door, and there's like, it's like you're joking me. Everything. It's like hitting every green light, driving from London to Manchester or something.
But you know what? You've put in the hours, haven't you? You've done your 10,000 hours. You know what you're doing.
I know. I've been around the block a few times.
That's not what I was saying, Patti.
I've been to the rodeo.
Well, you say the rodeo. I think this is amazing. Okay, so I've done my research. You've been on things like The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. You've been on The Late Show with David Letterman.
Yeah.
You've kind of conquered it all, Patti. Why are you kind of going out on this new thing now?
Like I said, it was a childhood dream. When I started, as a little kid, I knew this is what I wanted to do. And I used to take the candlesticks off of my mother's dining room table. And Cher was my idol. When I saw her on television on the Sonny and Cher show, so I was in, raiding my mother's closet and grabbing all these nightgowns and all of that and flinging my hair back if I wanted to be Cher. So it started from then, and so the little girl never left, and that little dream never left. So
let's talk about that little girl, because you've got certainly for us here, and I guess it's a life lived, but for us it's really fascinating, this whole New Jersey thing. Then you moved to upstate New York. Tell me about growing up, and tell me about the huge back garden and the tomatoes.
Oh, well, it was crazy. Obviously, I'm Italian and grew up in an Italian family. So on my mother's side, everybody's from Benevento, outside of Naples. So I grew up. I was born in Belleville, outside of Newark, and my grandmother had this 3-family house right on the corner on North 8th Street in Newark, and with a huge garden, back garden. And of course, all the relatives, were either close by or lived in one of the levels on the house. So, my childhood there was, looking at all the tomato plants and the string beans, the huge cherry tree, and everybody was back, and the grapes growing, and the things that were a bit morbid down in the basement, because you'd find I'd walk down there. I'm still traumatized to find, goats hanging and prosciutto, and it's just like, turn a corner. It's like being in the Twilight Zone. So I was definitely, that definitely left a mark. But it was exciting because on the Sundays, everybody was over. And if it was a nice day, everybody was in the back garden. And songs were coming out. There was this one thing I remember. One of my relatives had Zumberto had this one thing that kind of kept time, and my great aunt Filomena had the tambourine and everything. It was just it was always a party and song and laughter and wine, and I was sipping wine. I was a little started at a young age.
It sounds amazing. To those of us that have grown up watching movies from your homeland, it sounds like something out of a movie. It must have been an amazing childhood.
Absolutely incredible. That that was growing up. Kids running around. It's all of us getting into trouble and.
And your dad had a restaurant, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he was managing a lot of restaurants, and then we made the move to upstate New York, which was like big change.
Right.
I was in the country. We weren't in the city, so then bit of a shock, but got on pretty good over there. You acclimate as kids do, and. Yeah.
And you got on with it. I'm going to ask you about, I'm going to ask you about the piano and what happened when you were a little girl. You were in the angel costume, weren't you?
I was. I had the angel costume with all the tinsel and the, what do you call it, the aluminium foil. So this whole little thing my mother had made up for me. And my 5th grade teacher had approached me, and we were just finishing... getting on into the summer vacation, and she handed me this little card with the Latin phrase "Gloria in excelsis Deo." She's like, "When we come back in September, I'd like you to do the solo with the high school choir." So I was like, "Well, big honor."
Right.
So, and my role was so the choir would sing. We'll cut to the song, and I had to sing in a monotone. So I was like, "Gloria in excelsis Deo." So it was all incorporated. So I'm on the piano, singing my part. But at the end, she decided to make it a bit theatrical, my music teacher, Miss Jones. And at the end, right before, so the choir is to sing this, Gloria in excelsis, and then I all of a sudden have a voice. And I also sing, Gloria in Nick Chelsea's. So she makes everybody, the choir, look over to me.
Right.
So when everybody looked over and she wanted them, kind of like a surprised look. Well, the audience thought, the people there, including my parents, thought it was a mistake.
Right.
So everybody started laughing, and I was mortified. So I slid off the piano. I just wanted to crawl.
No.
And this guy, Doug Moore, I can't believe I remember his name. He was standing closest to me, and he just picked me up, put me back on the piano because we had the final note to sing, which was Deo. But it was always. It was like it stuck with me, obviously.
Amazing. What's amazing is that you were able to get back up on stage after that experience.
You would think that forever it would be like that scene. I don't know, like Niagara Falls. Slowly I turn. It was like one of the hypnotist with that word that just takes you off into.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you certainly did get back on stage.
I did.
Before we play your next song, I want you to tell me why we're playing Called by Annie Lennox. I also want to say thank you. You pronounced it correctly. It is indeed aluminium, not aluminum. So well done you. You've done your research.
I did.
Tell me about Cold and Annie Lennox. Why are you playing that?
First of all, that album, Diva, is an incredible, incredible, incredible record. I've always been a huge fan since she was with the Eurythmics, and that album was my time when I first joined Meatloaf. That album and Queen, I would warm up to songs before each concert, and I don't think there's one song on that record that was. They're all classics. They're all 5 stars. So
well, here's one of those 5 stars. It's Called by Annie Lennox. It is the choice of my one-on-one this afternoon, Patti Russo. When we come back, we'll be talking about her work with some of the biggest stars in rock. It is Nick Ahad. You join me for my one-on-one this afternoon. Patti Russo spent her whole career performing alongside people like Queen, Cher, Roger Daltrey, and of course, Mr. Loaf, Meatloaf himself. Patti, do you enjoy listening to that Annie Lennox song there?
I loved it. Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, what, did you hear me singing along with it?
I might have done. Let's talk about...
It's a great song.
Absolutely amazing song. Let's talk about that. So that moment when you slid off the piano in embarrassment.
Yeah.
How on earth do you go from that little girl to this performing on these massive stages in front of literally hundreds of thousands of people?
Well, you go and answer an ad in a Village Voice newspaper, as crazy as it is. That's how it happened.
Amazing, isn't it?
I still don't believe it. It was a chance. Just happened to have a minute there at work. Taking a bit of a break.
Were you a waitress at the time?
No, at this time I was I was working at a hair salon.
Okay. Because you'd done lots of odd jobs, hadn't you? I mean, you had obviously been a waitress and you'd done lots of different things, including being a wedding singer.
Yeah.
Which sounds quite lucrative, actually.
It was, and I'll tell you, it was great because we do these huge, Italians do everything big and grand. So they were pretty intense, crazy, over-the-top celebrations. And it was awesome. Because this particular band, they had lighting crew. It was like... Wow. Yes. Yeah, so
for a wedding singer.
For a wedding band, they had, they had backline crew, the big smoke machines and all this. It was a movie.
Wow, that sounds pretty big.
Yeah.
So I guess that did prepare you then. But you decided to leave all that behind and go off and before you answered this advert. What possessed you to leave that?
Well, I was singing alongside of, everybody was, there was 3 or 4 singers in the band. Well, I think everybody really sang. But, you'd have your moment. I was doing like the Whitney Houston songs or Taylor Dane at the time. And you just lock into a groove, and it's like, then you have to go into, and the bride cuts the cake. And I'm like, So after a while, it's like you're just getting into your moment, and then they're wheeling out these, these trays with cascading chocolates coming, and I was like, this isn't going anywhere. This is great, having a laugh, with everybody. But you were sick of being upstaged by a cake. You wanted to be no, I wasn't. No, my ego's not that big, for crying out loud. But no, it wasn't. You lock into a groove, and I was just gotta, stop, push the stop button. So I did. I was completely insane to do. Everybody thought, but for myself, I
had to do
I had to do it.
So tell me about the advert then.
Well, for Meatloaf, yeah. It was in this paper called The Village Voice, and they were looking for. It didn't mention Meatloaf, but it said international rock performer. Looking for a female vocalist with comedic timing and an open mind.
Right.
And it was like, dun, dun, dun.
Why did you answer that advert, Patti?
Because I'm a nut. I'm a complete nutter, as you say.
We do.
Well, it was just like, this is intriguing. So I ripped the that part of the paper out, took it home, and made the call. Yeah, so I spoke with it was a bass player that I actually ended up. Steve Buslow at the time phoned me back, and they wanted. I think the preliminaries were, can you send us a videotape of something you've done? Which, as luck would have it, I had just done this television show, Dick Clark's USA Music Challenge.
Wow. He does a big New Year's Eve thing, doesn't he?
Well, he did, yeah. He passed.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but at the time he was putting together this show similar to like Star Search or these shows coming out now.
Okay.
What is, I don't even want, The Voice and
X Factor and
of
stuff
that
like
time.
That.
Yeah, of that time. And so I had also answered an ad. I think that was in Backstage magazine, or it could have been The Voice. 2 papers. I mean, that was my agent.
Your agent was the back of the Village Voice.
The back of the Village Voice.
So what happens when you get in the room and you realise it's Meatloaf that you're there to?
Well, I find out on the phone that it's Meatloaf, and I go down to the first rehearsal audition, and it was great. It was really laid back. It wasn't like a cattle call for everybody around. It was really done super pro. And I had not really, I had done a couple of these auditions before where you walk into a room and you're like, oh God,
Right.
So this was done really well. So went in there, and I guess they were toying with the idea, because before I had joined, he had 2 female singers. So they were trying, did they want 2 singers? Then Kazim Sultan, who had played on Batter to Hell, was available to do touring. So they were flip-flopping around. So then it became a few other auditions. And I missed the memo on one.
You missed the memo.
Somebody didn't know. I never was notified for this one particular audition that everybody was supposed to go in wearing white.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so I come waltzing in. I mean, I think I had like white pumps on or whatever, these little pointy witchy shoes, and stilettos, and floral black, everything but. And I walk into a sea of white, and I just...
It's one way to stand out, Patti.
I guess so. That and sounding like, Fran Drescher, because... Oh, Mr. Sheffield. And I just cut off all my hair, so everybody's in there with flowing locks, and me like a wacko. The one day we decided at work, because I was bored, I was like, oh, jeez, let's cut my hair. We completely lopped it all off. So
why not?
Because that's what you do, I guess.
So you go in looking like this, like
I go in looking like completely crazy, and then one audition to the other, and I'll be honest, even though no one will admit it, I know. So I had the weekend to. So it was the Friday to the Monday, and. There was one singer that she just had a look about her. She was phenomenal. And I was like, there's no friggin' way. I was like, this gig isn't mine.
Right.
And of course, that whole weekend, I had doubles and triple gigs with the band that I was working with. I was still with this club band. And one of those gigs I had to do for a friend that I wanted to just, shoot myself. She had asked me to be Princess Jasmine for her daughter's birthday party.
Okay.
So the last thing I want to do when I'm waiting to get an answer for if I've got this gig that's a life-changing moment is go run around, God forgive me, dressed up in one of these Princess Jasmine, and then I had to go and spend $40 to buy a wig because I freaking cut my hair off. So I'm like, you've got to be, and I've got these like trying to hide these gold chocolate things, and this is in June, so it's hot, and I'm like, and kids are running around, and I was just like, oh God, please help me.
I think I can see why Meatloaf went for you. He likes theatricality, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And you definitely clearly got that, Patti.
Oh God, it's just the way I am, and just the way life comes around me. But yeah.
You know, we're going to play some more of your music. When we come back, I want to know about that life-changing phone call. Tell me why I'm playing Prove It All Night by Bruce Springsteen, the boss.
I love that. Just brings me back to going back to Jersey. And I loved the album. Fell in love with Darkness on the Edge of Town. And I can remember sneaking cigarettes out the window, staying at my aunt's house. In my cousin's room, he had the 8-track. That's how far back I go. We had the Victrola. No.
Prove It All Night by Bruce Springsteen. It's the choice of my one-on-one this afternoon, Patti Russo. So it's a real kind of New Jersey sound, that, isn't it, Patti?
It's awesome. I mean, it just took me back. I'm in Livingston, New Jersey at this moment. And, yeah.
Straight back there.
It totally took me back, yeah.
Now listen, we're going to be talking obviously about the fact that you are heading north. You're coming up to Sheffield quite soon, actually.
I'm going to be running with these Doc Martens, I tell you.
You know, it's a bit of a long way up here, don't you? We can't wait to see you up here, and I will obviously be asking you about coming out on the road and coming up to Yorkshire. But tell me, we got as far as that life-changing phone call. Tell me about the Monday when the phone call comes.
Yeah, so there it is. God, what was it? I know, and that night I was going to see Pat Benatar in the city. Mm-hmm. And so I was, I gone through the weekend, and it was rough, let me tell you. Just the thought, I'm going, I know this isn't happening, blah, blah, blah. And my mom said, don't worry. She's like, you're going to get the phone call. They're going to call you. And sure, and they did. She
believed.
She did. Oh, moms are awesome. I love her to bits. And, so the phone call comes, and you mark it, set, go.
Tell me, what's that like, Patti, when you get a phone call that is, we want you to come and join Meatloaf?
Yeah.
None of us can, very few people get their heads around that. What's it feel like?
Well, you're just sitting there for a minute, I mean, obviously, joy. Your heart is jumping up and down.
Of course.
And then you're like looking around, okay, and going, all right, now, what do I have to do? Okay, what do I call? My big job at the hair salon. I was like, sorry, I'm out of here.
Amazing.
And the band, the band that I was working with, I mean, they were all the big, high-fiving and all of that. And it was great. And then I'll be honest, Nick, the next thing I'm thinking about, it's like, oh my God, because I wasn't a great flyer.
Right,
and I was like, oh, God, how am I going to do this?
Well, you had to get pretty good quickly, didn't you?
Yeah. I felt like, when Stevie Wonder sits and he starts playing piano and he's just getting into the music, swinging back and forth. Well, that was me for quite the first bunch of those flights, because I didn't want to feel any turbulence or anything. So I figured if I was constantly moving, I wouldn't feel it.
Makes sense. There's definitely logic in there somewhere, Patti.
Yeah, but definitely a lot of eyes and people just walking away. And
listen, there's so many things. I'd like to talk to you about performing with Queen to like 90,000 people, but the one thing that I really, really can't let you go without asking about Madison Square Garden.
Ooh,
tell me about that
Lordy. Yeah. That was, look, I mean, it's the Garden.
It's the home of the Knicks. That's how I know it.
Well, yeah. And actually, a friend of mine's father was a ref for the Knicks. He had a heart attack on live television.
Okay, right.
Yeah, crazy. But anyway, so here I had made this, and I threw this out, and I said, the day I ever walk into the Garden. I said, I'd never gone to a game, concerts, nothing. And I said, I want to go in there, and I want to be getting ready to get on the stage. And it happened.
And that was the first time you'd gone?
The truth. Hand to God. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So imagine walking in there, all of it. And it was a crazy night because everybody was there. So there was just complete madness backstage and all of that. And add to that, we had a huge, massive snowstorm in the city. And my family's in the audience, people that I'd worked with, magically meeting each other, blah, 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 blah. So then just cut to that moment when we were doing, we're singing, Meat Singing 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad. And I just had, a moment, I just looked around, and that's when it hit me. Because you're on autopilot, getting everything going.
Okay.
And then I just looked around. I go, oh my God, I'm here. I can't believe it. So, of course, little girly getting all emotional. And I was. And I'm like going, oh, God, not now. Because with that, everything gets all your sinuses, and I'm going, don't stop crying, Patti. There's no crying in rock and roll.
Just, I've got to say, just in case people don't know, Madison Square Garden is it's where the New York Knicks basketball team plays, but also it's one of the biggest concert halls in America. It's huge.
It's like Wembley. It's like one of the
it's your Wembley.
Yeah, exactly.
And the first time you go there is to stand next to Meat Loaf and sing 2 out of 3.
Crazy, crazy. Well, I was actually up on the platforms for that particular song, but that's the moment that I do remember, because I'm just, he's singing out, and I'm just looking, looking at all this sea of people, and I just couldn't believe it.
Incredible.
I was like, you'd think I would sit there and start, telling myself, I'm going to hit the lottery. Just throw that out to the universe.
Now, look, you're not a backing singer. Just explain how it works with you and Meat Loaf.
I call myself the Meat Patti.
You are the Meat Patti.
Boom.
Very good.
No, I mean, when it's time for doing the background vocals, I'm there for that. But, we started creating these little characters. I always called us the Ralph and Alice Cramden of rock and roll. And I don't know if that show ever made it over here.
No,
called The Honeymooners, which with Jackie Gleason, yeah. Yeah, and that was us on stage.
Quite a combination then.
Yeah, it definitely was. You'll have to Google that or YouTube The Honeymooners, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
No, it didn't stop. We're going to run out of time, but I have to ask very quickly.
That's on me.
It didn't stop. It didn't stop with Meat Loaf. There was Queen, there was Cher, there was Jeff Beck, there was how come you ended up with all these people?
I don't know. I mean, I cannot believe. Like Cher was. I started talking about an interview.
Yeah, exactly.
All of them. I was like, this is crazy. And Cher, it was funny because the Cher thing, it was just a chance flight that I was on, and I just a week before I'd mentioned on an interview that about this doing Top of the Pops like 15 years before with Meat Loaf, and she was there doing Walking in Memphis, and I was like to Meat's wife at the time, I said, please, you got to introduce me, I got to get a picture with Cher, and so Meat Loaf introduces me to Cher, and he puts his arm around her, he goes, okay, Patti, take the picture. So I was like, so I take the picture, of course, because I feel foolish to say otherwise, and I just casually mentioned in an interview, I was like, Cher, if you're out there, I got to get a picture with you. And then, kid you not, Nick, a week later, I'm on this flight. Friends of mine meet them from London to LA, meet them in LAX, and we're on the same flight, staying at the same hotel. They're rehearsing with Tina Turner, and just casually met in the bar, and one of the guys playing there, one of the keyboard players also worked with Cher. And I was like, if she ever needs a singer, or looking for, please keep me in mind. And you never expect to get that call.
And then you did?
It was like, dun, dun, dun. It was crazy. And there I am singing. And Cher and I have the same birthday.
Right.
So the 20th of May. And so when she found out, she looked at me. She goes, May 20? I go, yeah. And she goes, we're crazy, right? I go, I know.
Maybe there's something, the moon was full that night or something. 20th of May, you got to watch out on that date. What a life. Do you ever stop and think, this is kind of crazy? I mean, you clearly had that moment at Madison Square, but do you often think, I'm stood there with Cher now, and that's my life, that's what's happened. I was going in New Jersey, and
all of it. It's just, I sit back and look, and I go, I can't believe I did that. Like with the Queen guys, I can't believe, they're my favorite band. And it's just...
And then you get to go to Amsterdam and stand next to Freddie Mercury and belt out songs.
I wish I was next to Freddie then, Madonna, me.
It was much later, wasn't it? But still, you get to play with the original band.
Yeah, it was... I don't know. I just grateful to God and the universe for... Because I can't believe how any of this has happened.
Well, it has happened.
I know.
It's been quite an hour. I can't believe an hour's gone, Patti, already.
I know.
And thank you for running down Oxford Street to get to us in your DMs. Listen, tell me why you want me to bring you a Bible and a beer and 3 other tracks.
Woo! Why I want you to bring me a Bible and a beer?
Tell us what that is.
Oh well, that's. Penned by yours truly. I actually had gone down to Nashville. There was some changes going on in my world in 2006, and took a bit of a sabbatical. And Brian May had introduced me. I was like, do you know anybody in Nashville? I want to do some writing down there. So he introduced me to this gentleman named John Tiven, who's a producer, guitar player. Went to his house. I said, okay, how do I start to do this? And just sat in front of his computer, started pulling up tracks. And I just said, well, I just wanted to listen to, I was listening for songs that I could possibly write to.
Mm-hmm.
And that particular piece, I was like, okay, let me take that one. I took about 5 songs from him and sat down in the kitchen where I was staying in Nashville with the Bible
Mm-hmm.
and a Corona.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I just,
What more do you want?
stripped. And seriously, the song, just, I looked around and it kind of wrote itself.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it was really good fun.
I assume you'll be performing that when you get up to Sheffield?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. Sheffield, the 17th of April. Do you know much about Yorkshire?
I'm trying to get my north, south, my east and west. I am.
We're definitely in the north, Patti, and we're going to give you a great big welcome. Can't wait to see you. April the 17th in Sheffield, Patti Russo. We're going to play your final choice. It is Love Reign Over Me by The Who. Tell me about this. Why are we playing that?
Well, it's just one of those songs that I'll sit there at home and just blast it. And it's one of I should be. I wish I could have sung it with Roger, but yeah, it's a great song. Love, Patti, thank you, my dear.
What a pleasure. We'll see you in Sheffield.
Yay! Take care.